opportunities from Phong Vũ. And G2, they're just going to continue with the style that's kind of found them success with the Olaf and early game aggression. But G2 have much more of the 1-3-1 kind of going on. They're relying on the split pushing power of Wonder. They're kind of saying, we want you to get ahead in the top side of the map. Perks, we need you to find an advantage in this mid lane on the rise. And a lot of that early lead is going to come off the back of Jankos in the jungle.
And I definitely think G2, as you say, want to go for 1-3-1. But Phong Vũ does have very good engage to attack that three-man squad. When you look at something like the Leona, like the Gragas, the potential for an explosive engage is very high.
Kind of wonder if they will stick this way as well. Obviously, they have 20 seconds, so they actually did use some flexibility there. They will actually move Aatrox mid lane, give it over to Perks, and give Wonder the rise instead.
Yeah, I'm actually really annoyed that I didn't call this out, because when I was speaking to Grabs, he was saying that when we saw in the best of 5, they did this same thing. They drafted the rise into the Urgot, and the reason is they believe this to be a solid matchup, one that won't win, but it won't lose either, and you can just be left to free farm in that lane, and while you're going to get pushed under your tower probably, it's fine, because you're rise, you're pretty safe, you can escape the vast majority of those plays, which means that G2, they're kind of going a regular season strat. Play around Perks. He's on the Aatrox. Get him ahead against the very squishy Vel'Koz and see if you can find leads through the mid lane.
And it is pretty interesting, because I do think that that mid lane matchup becomes fairly high variance. You can see Perks is going to be going Ignite, Electrocute, so certainly the potential to get those kills if they can get on top of this Vel'Koz. But if you start to fall behind against the Vel'Koz, Vel'Koz is going to have full wave control, is going to be clearing that out, and Aatrox may find difficulty entering into some of those fights.
And again, I really want to illustrate how in game 1, we kind of put emphasis on Afrika to create plays in the early game, because if it got to that 5v5 stage, the ability to play those 5v5s was heavily towards one team's favor. And I kind of look at PvP's draft, PVB draft, and they have a really solid front line with the Urgot and the Leona. They have loads of safe backline damage with the Vel'Koz and the Xayah. They scale pretty well. Like, this is really built for 5v5. And they can make plays in the early game, especially towards the bot side of the map.
Oh, and this is some sneaky stuff here. G2 is actually trying to set up to flank this brush. You're going to see G2 come from the top side. Wadid has already W'd over the wall, and he's going to come from all sides onto Zeros here, and they should at least get a flash.
Yep, Zeros is going to have to walk out of there. They will flash. No follow though from Wadid.
And this was actually a move from Fnatic during the regular season that they learned. I think you're bringing this, because yesterday we saw the Schalke play from Vitality, and now today we're seeing a move inspired by Fnatic during the regular season. And if you take a certain path through the top lane, even if you're sitting in that brush, you won't be spotted as you walk down towards it. So good pathing there from G2, and they're able to find an early flash from Zeros.
And it reminds me a lot of just, we've seen Gragas do this in the past, as you're talking about, and you know, Gragas, obviously, you used to see that play where they could actually body slam over the Dragon Wall and then try to come behind people who are sitting at that red brush. This is the same idea. Yes, it maybe makes your level 1 a little bit worse. You know, a lot of people would like to start Q, perhaps, but it's not going to be a big deal whatsoever. You're likely going to get pushed in regardless against this 2v2. So, hey, get a flash on the top side, give Wonder the advantage, and make Zeros play much more safe. Because it isn't just about the 1v1, it's about the fact that he now has to respect the Jankos gank so much more, and he may not be able to push any potential 1v1 advantage.
We'll see how this kind of develops. But Wonder already here to the wave. Zeros walked pretty safe back towards the top side of the map, as this is the other big lane to watch. Perks, of course, kind of on a much harder carry champion for him, as they did flex this around in the draft, and if Perks can get off to a good start with those aggressive summoners and runes, be very curious to see kind of what he can do.
Looking at some of the jungle pathing that we're seeing from both sides, Jankos actually doing a full bot side clear into trying to get some river control, because again, it's this Leona Xayah lane that PvP have the easiest lane to play around in terms of early playmaking and kind of gank setup, and so he wants to try and secure this objective, but he doesn't have control over the bot lane wave, which means that Pallet can just easily walk up into the river, force Jankos away, and that's going to force Hyanan and Wadid to play more on the defensive side. And this is a situation that they often find themselves in, but again, in terms of the early levels, they're just going to have to play on the defensive.
Yeah, and I think it's really nice, even just the fact that they didn't actually give that over to BIGKORO. Meliodas is in a disadvantageous kind of jungle 1v1 here right now against the Olaf, so getting him that extra experience, that extra gold from the Scuttle, certainly going to help him out in that regard.
And while this may be kind of a different type of game for G2 based on competition, kind of a throwback to the regular season, we will take a look at how they did yesterday versus Afrika Freaks, an extremely strong 4-1 split push style game, and this is the kind of gold graph you want to see as a fan of any team.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very slow and steady game in the early portions of the map, and I think a lot of it was Afrika trying to force plays, but they couldn't quite find the kills onto the Heimerdinger in the bot lane, and eventually it got to a point where G2 were actually out macroing Afrika, and they showed that they weren't just reliant on an early game lead to snowball. They demonstrated that they didn't need their laners to be super far ahead of the opposition. They could actually just out-rotate their opposition and slowly take control through superior objective taking.
And I also really just like the fact that they were willing to hard commit to a split push style. You saw times where Wunder was not TPing to the fight. He was committing to taking turrets. He was committing to putting the onus on Afrika. And I think, again, you could end up in a similar situation where Perkz and Wunder are going to have the ability to try to force PVB's hand, to try to make them respond to what they're doing.
Well, you did see Jankos kind of clear through and maybe looked up, but instead checks the jungle with the Scry's Bloom as both jungles actually recall adjacent to each other over a wall and pick up their first early purchases. Back in mid zone, Null doing just fine right now. Haven't seen too much of this matchup, so might expect the range to win out at least early points, but Perkz, I know, a very skilled player, very good on these melee style carries as well, so can certainly find some traction, and so far on CS looks just fine. And
one of the things really about Aatrox's mid into casters is if you get to a certain breakpoint where you're able to actually hold the Aatrox off of the minion wave, then he's not able to kind of vamp up and heal up off those minions nearly enough. As long as he's having access to the minion wave, he started Doran Shield, it's going to be really hard to actually poke him down enough to kill him. So you have to hit a certain breakpoint where you're hitting enough spells and you're really starting to threaten him, and then it can snowball a little bit.
I really agree with you, Azel. I think that matchup is entirely dependent on how much sustain Perkz is allowed to have access to, and so far he's doing a pretty good job. But once those items start coming through for Null, especially the Lost Chapter, that's when we may see things start getting a little tougher for Perkz, because again, while we're putting all this emphasis on Jankos to be that early proactive playmaker, and where he could look to play around is mainly mid and top. I mean, you could argue that with a Rakan, once you hit level 6, you could look to play around that lane, but Leona and Xayah is such a difficult and dangerous lane to gank because of their ability to turn things around. So G2, I really think they need to invest towards the top side of the map.
Have to agree that I think both junglers are going to need to track each other well and pick their spots when it comes to this early aggression. See, Meliodas is back out on the map. Does see a good chunk of vision here from G2. Will miss the ward on the left side, but it's just about the timeout, so he'll get a little lucky there, and we'll find that control ward and take down the zombie ward as well, as Perkz does return to lane with a very respectful early Merc treads.
Yeah, I think it's pretty smart. It does actually work on the Gragas knockup, which does actually count as a mini stun, so it doesn't count as a true knockup, so it's effective against that. And there is, a fair bit of slow and stuff that it can reduce also, as you are going to have the Glacial Augment Vel'Koz, so it makes a bit of sense. But one of the things I do always kind of somewhat disagree with from pro players is if you're going Merc Treads purely for the magic resist, it's often better to just sit on a Null Magic Mantle for a favorite 450 gold instead of spending the full 1200.
Jankos is actually going to be aggressed on here. Ooh, Ignite already from the spellbook change up. There's the Ragnarok burn, and good flash as well from Jankos.
Damn, even throwing out the flash because the ulti came out from the Yogot now. You can see lying in wait is Pallet.
That little lane gank, but Perkz is staying safe and also has flash and his ultimate ready, so not too much danger he's in right now.
Yeah, it was just a really nice interrupt on the ult there from Perkz. His Q actually was still buffered before the knockup came through, so Null hit the knockup and thought he was free to ult, but the Q was already cast there for Perkz and did interrupt it.
And kind of backtracking towards that top play, Jankos, he actually thought that he was in a safe spot to go towards top because of the pressure that Perkz had in mid. He just didn't realize that Meliodas was topside and that Zeros actually had priority in the top lane as well. So he ended up getting collapsed upon, and he thought that with just his ulti he could get out of that situation, but he realized, okay, the moment the Yoga ult is on top of me, he knows that his half a life bar now becomes a quarter life bar because if you drop below a certain point, you're obviously going to get executed. So I think the flash was made sense, but it also means it's that much harder now for him to try and make these early game plays. So I think the way in which PvP are playing, they're pretty happy with how things are going right now. Yes, their mid lane is a little bit behind in farm, but top lane is even, bot lane is doing fine. I would just like to see them now that they've hit that level 6 mark, Meliodas being the one to try and force plays, ideally around that bot map.
Yeah, and Meliodas, I think, will hit 6 off these Krugs, or at least will be very, very close, and will be on the bottom side of the map. So, yeah, is going to get 6. Certainly has the potential to go bot straight away. try to make a play if G2 does miss position whatsoever.
And they're clearing out the vision as well. You can see the pings on the mini-map. Control Ward ended up getting dropped down there. He's just hanging around this part of the lane. Pallet's still not quite that level 6 mark yet, but they're waiting for the bot lane to overextend. But again, G2, they leave their bot lane on an island. This is a situation that Hyana and did find themselves in often, even during the best of 5 against Infinity. 3 out of the 4 games, they had losing matchups. And it's just a situation that they're just comfortable. They're experienced playing in this situation. Just like, okay, we have to be safe. Our jungler often doesn't play around us, and often they're able to get through it without too much of a depth.
Definitely personally impressed with how much pressure Hyana and did have been able to absorb, even with the likes of Spirit, Talia walling down there in the earlier stages of their game yesterday. They held firm and were just fine. Again, G2 just kind of playing it out slow. In fact, both these teams playing a pretty quiet first 10 minutes here in this game, but there's certainly a lot to play for as the game develops. Jankos is going to eat some harass, but he's got his ulti back, so he's just going to try and clear this water. He does what he can. Oh, goodness. He face-checked the ulti, and that's the first blood for Null.
Oh, that was so bad from Jankos. The disrespect there. You ate pretty much a full combo from Null, and you had no flash.
Yeah.
Null was guaranteed to get the kill there. Both Azael and I saw it happening, and then the moment he threw out the ult, we knew it was destined to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what he thought, but anyway, there's going to be a play on the bottom side. Meliodas is 6.
Gonna ding 6. There's the ulti, but doesn't quite knock Hyana the right way. Still within. Locked up. He does flash, but he's ignited. That's a flash feather from BIGKORO.
This could be potentially a turret as well with the mini wave coming in. We'll see if they want to try to commit to it. Turret already fairly low, and Jankos with just a massive mistake there. Throws away his life, means he can't be on the bot side to protect it, which allows them to then make a play there, and they have the turret pretty chunk low.
Yeah, PvP gained so much off the back of this. They've now extended it to just under a 1,000 gold lead. You can see here, Jankos, he's already got the passive proc. At this point, he takes so much extra damage.
Can't believe do it back in.
And then here you go. It was just a complete disrespect, the amount of damage that Vel'Koz has. And the thing is, EU fans are now looking at this and being like, oh no, it's regular season Jankos back again. He makes these inconsistent plays and he gets punished for it. And here, Wadid, he's trying to say, oh, now we got to play.
Oh my goodness, Sarah's trying to make up for the solo kill he missed out on yesterday, but Wonder, he does reactionally flash out of there.
Meliodas is coming up though, and he still has his flash available, and the Urgot ultimate is up, so you could set that up.
They're going to show respect and back away.
Yeah.
And now G2 can answer in the bot side, but now things are looking really good for PVB. We said we wanted to see them get a lead in the bot side of the map. That was made even better because they got a lead in the mid. Now Perks is in trouble.
Glacial Augment, Warbender is going to get popped, so the Resurrect will be there if he needs it. Null, though, doesn't quite angle the laser off to the right, so Perks does get out without needing to revive.
So Perks walks away, but again, Null spotting the mid lane, or spotting G2 members out and punishing them. They now get all this free damage onto the mid tier 1. PVB punishing multiple mistakes that G2 are making.
I mean, they're pressuring all across the map. Wonder had to run on the top side. Now you see Perks sent back home on the mid lane. Bottom side, the turret is down below half HP. Phong Vũ is looking really good and a much more kind of reinvigorated team today, right? Obviously, they did not look that strong against Flash Wolves. Perhaps some of that is nerves. Perhaps some of that is just how well Flash Wolves is playing. But here is Meliodas again on the bot side.
Flash.
Yep. Again, Kana going to be the target. What a beautiful solar flare. And the ult to pop it all off as Meliodas celebrates by throwing a keg.
And Xerath didn't even need to TP in. It was just a zoning teleport to lock Hyana underneath the tower. G2's bot lane is getting dismantled right now as PVB, for the second time, invest ganks down there. They put Hyana even further behind. And this early game is going heavily in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, even just between the marksmen, the gold advantage is so big now for BIGKORO. He's about 1,600 gold ahead, even just in that 1v1, which is a really big deal. You can see Xerath is holding his own, and even more than that, on the top side.
And this isn't a situation that you can blame Hyana for, right?
Yeah.
Like, he lost his jungler, then 4 members very quickly rotated down, and because of that earlier play, they set up that ward behind the duo in the bottom side of the map. And again, PvB punished them for it, and this is such a big deal for PvB. G2 drafted towards this 1-3-1. They need to get an early advantage, and right now, this early game is not in their control.
And it certainly was, you know, Jankos' mistake to die in the mid lane, obviously, but it's very nice to see how well Phong Vũ is playing around that mistake, capitalizing on it, punishing it time and time again. Not just the first kill, but as you said, setting up the ward for the repeat. And looking constantly for more. Now looking to try to force on this Rift Herald, crack the top lane turret. They already had bot. You can see Hjarnen's pushing down there, so this should be theirs.
Look, Pallet hasn't bought a lot this game, but he has gotten insane value out of these early mobility boots. He's been so active ever since that early bit of pressure. He's been on point with the skill shots, and now Wonder, he's the next victim. Soulflare barely going to miss as Wonder Realm warps away.
Really unlucky there for Pallet. He tried to make the play. Wonder, bit overextended in the top lane, almost got punished.
Yeah, I think he didn't actually have vision in the brush to see when the Rise ultimate was started, so he was just hoping that Wonder hadn't started it early, but good job there by Wonder, starting it up very early, making sure that there's not time for Pallet to interrupt, and does cost him quite a few of his playmaking abilities.
Certainly think that safety first is a motto that G2 might need to start adapting in the early stages of this game. Wonder does do the right thing there.
Now remember, what we said was in terms of late game team fighting, PvP should have the advantage. Phong Vũ have a really solid 5v5 composition because they have the front line of Zeros and Pallet. They have a lot of engage tools, they have a lot of consistent damage output, and for G2, they're much more tailored towards the 1-3-1 style. Now, that's not to say that they can't team fight. They have Kai'Sa, who's great in the late game, you have the Rakan, who acts as an engage tool, and the ability to dive into the backline with Aatrox and Olaf can be good, but ideally you want to find a flank because they don't have this big tank that they can really play around. So, and Rise, the later you go into the game, he doesn't do that well into tanks. Like he doesn't threaten the backline that much. So G2 aren't in the best of situations, and they need to be kind of forcing these plays right now if they want to still stand a chance as we approach the mid lane.
It's a really solid rotation there from PVB. They're going to get the tower low, they'll tunnel Shelly up, and they'll take the mid out of very simply.
Yeah, and at the same time, BIGKORO was pushing up on the top side. No one from G2 is up there to respond to this, so could be just them going around Lahore and getting all three of these outers, and not only will they get it, it should be solo gold, and they're looking for a fight perhaps now on Perkz.
Perkz barely not getting clipped by that Zenith Blade, but going to have to walk back safely to the tier 2 turret as that outer does fall, and Phong Vũ Buffalo up almost 4,000 gold in the early game here.
And this is why we said in the draft, this is a team that you have to respect. They were considered by many fans to be an upgrade from the Gigabyte Marines. Ooh, Pallet using the Hex Flash over the wall there. But considered an upgrade because they don't rely on these crazy picks. They don't rely on trying to snowball an early lead. This team understands how to play around the map. They have a lot of strong individuals, but now G2 trying to fight back.
Featherstone forced outward. He does find the recombo, and Perkz able to slay BIGKORO. Nice solar flare to maybe get Pallet out to safety, but the chains won't latch as Meliodas does move in with a good ult. Now there's the slow, but Ragnarok popped by the Olaf is going to mean Meliodas gets chased down, and Null barely late to the party as PVB try and find a kill but cannot answer back.
Beautiful play there though from Wadid and Perkz, really coordinating to get the kill onto BIGKORO, who didn't manage to get either of his summoners off there. Not able to react in time. Had he lived a little bit longer, maybe they can kite that out and get Null involved, but a great engagement. G2 needed something like that to really slow down Phong Vũ, who was really kind of taking over the map.
We were just talking about how G2 needed to try and find something, and this was their opportunity. The mistake here from Pat and BIGKORO is overextending on the top side just as a two-man. You know, there's not enough pressure elsewhere on the map, and I feel like that the ulti just came out a little too early from BIGKORO. He should have used his flash into the ulti to then try and get away from what did. And while this was a great ulti from Meliodas, unfortunately, flash was used from Jankos. He can't be CC'd, and then G2 end up finding themselves 2 kills. Still, though, at a 2k gold deficit, and PVB are the ones dictating the pace of the game.
Yeah, certainly sitting in a good position. They're going to go down to the Dragon and look to take this. G2, as you can see, has not done very well from behind. It has been very much about their early game and creating advantages for themselves, especially through Jankos and through some of their individual play. And we'll see now from a deficit how they are going to look against this VCS team, who has really, by all accounts, from a lot of the analysts from this region, been an upgrade over Gigabyte Marines, been a stronger team.
Zeros is doing it again. Looks for the flash, but Wonder.
He's really trying to prove a point against Wonder, isn't he?
And to his credit, the reaction flashes have been on point for Wonder to not get clipped by Disdain. But still, the rest of the team does reinforce, and this tier 2 looking pretty unhealthy for G2.
Yeah, they're going to have to give this one up. It is traded, though, on the other side of the map in favor of G2, so Perkz will trade that. But tier 1 for tier 2, PVB more than happy to take that exchange. Actually, even in terms of Drakes and with the next one spawning, you imagine that PVB have that control because yet to lose their mid-tier 1. And I mean, I only just realized 4 towers to 1 in favor of PVB. A lot of where their early game gold is coming from.
Yeah, it certainly is. And honestly, their Baron take is pretty solid, and their Baron turn especially is very, very threatening. So as we approach, you know, the 20-25 minute mark, if they can control vision around that area, they can look for picks with the Leona, with the Gragas, try to turn and find something. They're trying to wait for Perks' ultimate to actually expire here, but I think he's going to be out.
It's a great umbral dash there from Perks and barely miss out on getting body slammed. PVB, though, again, back out on the map, and carries are starting to build up items. We have 2 finished with BIGKORO. We almost have Super Soaker done for Null as well, and here's the TP just to defend this turret, as Wonder is pressuring a little bit more in the side lane.
Do have to throw a little bit of criticism in the way of Pallet, though. He has certainly not been on point with his Leona ultimates in particular. Has been whiffing a lot of those, and so much of your success on Leona depends on crisp engages, on finding those picks and being very sure of when you can make them. I do respect the attempts and that he is trying to stay proactive and aggressive on the map, likewise with Zeros, but you have to make sure in the critical fights that you're able to nail those.
Now, Wonder was forced to use the Realm Warp actually into PVB's jungle because he realized, they have mid control, they're now moving through my bottom side jungle, and if I try to run back to my tower, I'm gonna die. So he then just went the other direction, and he said, all right, well, your base is my base now, and is able to get away to safety. So quick decision making there from Wonder to get away with his life, but across the board, Hyanan, he's closed the CS gap. He was 30 CS down after the first tower drop, and while all the action has been going on, he's been steadily farming, closing that gap. The gold gap is still pretty significant. But the fact that he's been able to pick up this farm will be really important for G2 because he's kind of their late game insurance. And as we saw in their series versus Infinity Game 4, when he was on that Jhin and he needed to carry, he was the one that came up clutch.
Really trying to kill Wonder. What a dodge, though. Just steps down and dodges out from the PVB on Jansen. And now Jankos is going to move back in there, but they've already got Pallet in the mix. Wonder is getting low, but
BIGKORO.
already low with BIGKORO. He's going to move in to clean up the fight. Perks with World Under. He's going to try and make it happen. He's trying to dive into the backside, but Zaya grabs the double kill. Still G2 reinforcing. Able to get a couple kills here, but the Zaya is still popping off in the team fight. And that's G2 running away.
Really questionable team fight from G2 that PVB are more than happy to take. They didn't even have Null, and now they have 4 members left alive. That ends up being a 3 kills traded for 1, and all of them went on to BIGKORO.
Yeah, and that is the really big deal there. They're going to be able to push up mid lane here as well, potentially threaten some of these turrets, taking away a little bit of the jungle also. PVB are just non-stop looking for these picks, looking for these fights. They're doing a very good job of controlling vision in G2's jungle. And if you look on this side of the map, G2 really sees nothing. So anytime Wonder moves forward, they are non-stop attacking him. They're making him very scared to move out on the map.
But the thing is here is like, they could have gone out, but instead G2 choose to fight because they think, okay, we've got Perks coming in from behind, but as you rightly said, they don't see Pallet there. They think they can win out on this 2v2. It's actually a 2 versus 3. No one, Jankos goes in, he's forced to back away, and they think, okay, Perks is here, maybe we can win this, but good stopwatch from Melio Diaz. BIGKORO's positioning is great because he's not in any real danger. He even tries to go for the 1v1 against Hyanan, who's forced to flash over the wall just to get that kill onto the Gragas. But in the meanwhile, PVB are finding themselves 3 kills, and like, yes, PVB, they're playing these fights extremely well. They're getting their kills onto the right resources, but multiple times, G2 have made some very questionable decisions.
Yeah, they really have, but I think they're feeling a little bit of the pressure, perhaps recognizing that PVB may have an advantage in the 5v5 in the later stages of the game, and that can make you feel like, hey, you need to find fights. Hey, we need to do something now, and perhaps being a little bit too over-eager to find some of those opportunities.
Well, nice job checking that brush by Null's Twin Shadows, but Phong Vũ Buffalo now going to move into the Baron area and look to threaten this. They've had such a good time pressuring a very long bot lane that I think G2 have really opened up this space for PVB to kind of translate over to and threaten the first Baron of this game. We're still very early on as well. I mean, we've talked up PVB being the team in this game to have strong late game insurance when the team fight phase rolls around, but they've just done a good job getting ahead pretty early into this one, and G2 feeling that pressure feels even worse as Janko's going to be forced to burn Ragnarok.
And G2 need to recognize that they don't have control over their own jungle right now. G2 tried to find a pick onto Zeros, but he's going to quickly disengage from that one.
Oh, what an ult! There's a Zenith Blade there. Janko's going to go down. That could be Baron.
Yeah, they could head straight for it. We'll see if they do. Zeros is trying to clear out this mid lane, and There's no ultimate on Perk, so they actually are trying to chase for a fight right now, but I think they should have just gone back to Baron.
Yep.
They have the ability to turn with Meliodas having his ultimate up, and they may start it up now. Jankos is still dead for quite some time. They are starting the Baron. There's no ultimate on Perks. Will be very hard for G2 to find a way in.
Wadid has his engage, Shannon has his engage, and I think they do get them spotted. Pallet on. There we go.
Wadid goes in for a counter over the backside, but they might just finish the Baron. Not able to flash out of the way as Pallet. He's trying to run for the hills. The Baron is dead. Pallet is just sauntering out slowly. They might try and chase him. Perks will land the knockup. The follow-up is good. Pallet may just give his life for the cause. They will get a kill, but PVB stay worth.
But again, Jankos makes the crucial mistake. In the draft, we talked about how you can't rely on the consistency of G2. During the regular season, they showed that on one game, they looked like the best team in Europe, and then the next, they looked like the worst. And a lot of it came off the back of their jungler, making these crucial mistakes. And here's another big one from Jankos. He burns his ultimate after sitting on top of a ward. He tries to clear it out, and this is fine, but at this point, you have to disengage. You have no control. He then walks around right into the face of PVB. We're like, okay, we're more than happy to take this kill. And it just feels like G2 or Jankos is disrespecting this PvP squad who are more than capable of punishing this G2 roster.
And Jankos could be in a bit of trouble here again. And Gragas actually did complete his base.
Oh my goodness, that's so much damage.
What is he doing?
Make it space.
I'm so confused by the decision-making of Jankos right now. Because even then, right, like, you kind of look at how the game state has gone, and Shannon did a good job of closing the CS gap. He was slowly getting more, more and more farm, and then the enemy AD carry picks up 3 kills, and now he has 2,000 gold advantage over his lane opponent. Same for Null. He's now sitting at 2-0-0, nearing completion of his 3rd item, which was a death cap. PVB are sitting on the Baron. They're looking really good with how they're constantly punishing these mistakes, and now they're primed and ready to just break into the base of G2.
Yeah, and I honestly agree that one was a real head-scratcher. The solo play from a tank Olaf, like, I'm not really sure what he's looking for at that point, and had Meliodas actually not completed his base, they would have just killed him there, but either way, PVB are pushing up mid lane and potentially could just crack the base here.
Yeah.
Hex Flash from Pallet is going to threaten. They will take the tier 2. Still minute 30 left on this Baron, so time to get in and try and take an inhibitor. Zera's pretty tanky, but Wonder does lock him up under the turret for a shot or two.
There's a flank from Wadid, but he's sitting on a ward. He's going to get spotted.
Twin Shadows again, coming up clutch for this Vel'Koz, and that turret's dead. Wadid is way too far out of position at this point, and G2 can't really defend right now. Looking to maybe lose a 4v5 at their inhib if they choose to fight.
Yeah, Null is just staying back, zoning him, and knowing that even if Wadid comes around and engages onto him, they won't be able to kill the Vel'Koz without additional help. Yep. So this is just really strong play here from PVB. There's no cheese about it. There's no anything other than standard macro play, and they're straight up outplaying G2.
And you kind of look back at the best of 5. Ooh, they may have found Zeros.
Gun ulti's in. Perk's already going to grab another knockup, and that's a good kill. G2 going to pick it up with Wadid, going to maybe try and turn it back around. He engages with Perk. Already popped world under his Jankos. Completes the flank, but Desire still alive. BIGKORO is just forcing out the DPS. Perks is going down. That's going to be a double kill. Make it another triple for Desire from the bot lane. And Yarden and Wadid head for the hills, buddy.
Yeah, BIGKORO is just way too strong. He's going straight for the bottom lane inhibitor. All these guys have to do is delay.
Supercharger trying to dance around there. Power does miss that interplay critically. And Shano is able to get a kill. Probably going to go down as well. The hopes of G2 rest on Yarden as he does grab the double. But meanwhile in bot lane, BIGKORO is just pushing the minions in and cracking yet another inhib.
While that was an admirable fight from Yarden, doing what he can to help G2, they still end up losing 2 inhibitors. That fight was played so well from Pallet and Meliodas. The fact that they were able to execute such a clutch solar flare onto the Rise, followed by a massive Gragas barrel that just split up G2, enabled BIGKORO to just melt through that team fight. And you can see here, they start off the pick onto Zeros. They try to shut him down. They think, okay, by getting this fight, or by getting this pick, with 5v4, we can win this one out. But then again, keep your eyes on the solar flare ultimate from Pallet. He lands it straight onto Wonder, and then the Gragas barrel comes out to knock Shannon away as well. And in all of this, BIGKORO just isn't touched. Such a beautifully played fight from PVB.
Yeah, that Gragas ultimate was honestly perfect. Not only are you knocking out the Kai'Sa, you're knocking in the Rise to get that kill. And despite the fact that both the solo laners went down from PVB without really being able to contribute anything, BIGKORO was so ridiculously strong that if that man is protected, he can shred them. And this is certainly a little bit of hubris there from that duo, all they needed to do was stop the base. They don't need to chase that hard.
Exactly.
So they do give over a couple of silly kills, but still in an incredible position.
I mean, 2 inhibitors are now down for G2. They're 5k gold down. You can see how the 280 carries are the big contributors. You're right there, mate.
That was a lot of damage on that last team fight.
It certainly was, but now PVB, they don't even need the next Baron. They can just hook up top. They can continue to siege. They know they have the stronger 5v5, and it's kind of, again, up to Hyanin to turn this game around. Just like it was in Game 4 of Infinity versus G2 in the play-ins qualifier. It is all down to this 80 carry. 4-1-1 now, 3 items finished. It's going to be such a big play for him to be able to turn this one around.
And I honestly say there's just as much pressure on Wadid. Like, he has to find a perfect engage. That was both the soul laners dying without getting to doing anything, and they still lost the fight, right? Like, if you do not eliminate BIGKORO or someone instantly, it's going to look bad, and Wadid may be spotted here. They're going to try to chase him down. Again, they're just zoning him out while they go for the inhibitor. This is such smart play.
And now what did G2 do? You said it. Wadid's the guy that needs to find this engage, and with their main engage being chased away
He's stealing
by
away
Leona.
Too. Just trying to act as interference while the rest of G2 clear out these minions. Perks can now be in trouble.
Slowed again. The Glacial Augment value is continuing to rise here for Null. Perks does dash away to safety, but PVB still continuing their assault. They'll just translate back to topside.
All right, so the Baron spawns in about a minute's time, and they can very cleanly use this as a means to either force a fight against G2 or secure it without much contention, because remember, G2 still have 2 waves of super minions that they have to deal with. Full vision control is in favor of PVB in the top side of the map, and things are looking really good right now for PVB.
And that's also why they're sticking so heavily around here, knowing that G2 can't get out on the map to even get jungle vision for themselves.
The engage.
Wadid again looks for it, but he only finds Urgot. He's going to get knocked around as he does dance back towards his teammate. But still Xerath looking for it as Perk. Maybe has a flank here. Xerath's taken a few too many turret hits in that exchange. The W from Kai'Sa almost enough for the execute on Urgot, but will not be the case this time.
Now PVB, they got a little overzealous there. They know that the Baron is spawning in 30 seconds, yet they choose to go for a fight. If that had gone badly, G2 could have maybe converted that into a kill. But Perks, he's going for more.
Back in on, but Xerath flips him around. PVB, they've actually made them take the bait. Xerath, he is going to die, but Perks will go down as well. Resurrects for a little while longer, might actually live. Does have the flash, needs the dash, gets out of there, but Null able to clip him as he moves his way over the wall.
Yeah, critically, Jankos had to use the ultimate to retreat as well, which makes it harder for him around the Baron. His flash is still down for a bit. We may see PVB just straight up started. I think they will. BIGKORO can shred this Baron.
All right, where is Jankos? He has to try and find a steal, but
how?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's their only option right now. If they lose this Baron, it's likely game for PVB. Here comes Jankos.
Oh no, so well. He snipes out the jungle. He's going to force the watch. He just needs to buy time. The Baron's almost dead. The Vel'Koz may go down as Hyanin Killer Instinct's over to try and collect him, but I think it's well worth the price he paid here. Hyanin is going to miss that W. Null might be able to find a crazy 1v1 outplay, but no, not the case as Hyanin now unstoppable, continuing.
Look at the flank from Wonder. They're trying to get a collapse onto these 3 members.
Maybe they can move a little bit more back
in,
but I think they'll just try and fight. Awkward blast cone there from the jungler, but a good ult out. Oh, the Rebels only grabs one. Wadid now forced to dance over as Xerath is back out on the map. We're going to try and chase down a carry. Wadid continuing to run interference all game long, though. This bot lane is doing so much heavy lifting for G2.
I mean, cue the Benny Hill music. Wadid is taking him on a merry chase, but PVB do not need to continue chasing this. Reset, fire items, you have Baron. Go take down the inhibitors that are open and look to close the game. Look to force on that 3rd inhib. If you can triple inhib G2 here, they're going to be so locked down on their base, you need to just simply walk up.
And so this is after both the top laner for PVB and the mid laner for G2 go down. G2, they realize that they can't get anywhere near the Baron. They have no vision in their side of the jungle. And you end up face-checking Null, and he gives it...
right between the tentacles.
That was great. He's like, all right, you might get me, but we get the Baron. I'll see you later, good sir. Good stuff there from Null. He does his job, and now PVB with the Baron, with the gold lead. G2, after a huge upset win yesterday, now face their first loss of the World Championship against PVB and could really spice up Group A.
And for me, you know, PVB's loss kind of felt a little bad. It feels like pick standard and loss. This game feels like just inverse. They pick standard and they're winning pretty handily against the G2.
And it wasn't Xerath that had to do it. He's their superstar. He has, you know, gone fairly even overall against Wonder. Yes, he is definitely behind in farm now, but the laning phase was fairly even. It has been the rest of the team doing a lot of the heavy lifting, which is encouraging to see that they can win in these different ways against some of the best players here. I mean, BIGKORO himself is absolutely massive in this game. He's sitting on 90% crit now with that second Zeal. When he completes another Shiv or whatever he wants to buy, he's going to have his 100% crit. He can kill anyone on G2 in a matter of seconds.
Well, this could be the final stages of this push here as G2 try and find an angle into this team fight. Baron still up for a minute. Inhibs have respawned. So Phong Vũ Buffalo looking to again put the capstone on this game.
I do feel like PVB could threaten multiple lanes, but instead they're just going to group up mid. Keep your eyes on the potential flanker engages. Hyanan is hanging up in the front line. Loses Banshees already.
Oh, Liddy goes in again on the front line. They're going to try and dive back in. Perk's going to try and make something happen, but BIGKORO living for a little while longer. He did have to burn ult. Hyanan, though, forced to flash out from one of the solo players. The knockup comes in onto one who's now forced to flash away. Perk, he's in there, but the Whirlwind is down. And Zeros has already used the ult, so no sniper.
Also has his ultimate here.
I mean, Yankos is all the way back around the fight. I don't know what they can really do. PvP that is running G2 around in their own base as BIGKORO moves in for cleanup duty. Pallet takes down Woodid and Support combat as Perks is fighting the jungler and losing. And Phong Vũ Buffalo, it just feels like they can't put anything out of place. They're going to move in and smash this Nexus.
PvP still have 5 members alive, only 2 Nexus turrets stand in their way. G2, there's nothing left. Hyanan
still alive. Is there something? No, it's just Wonder. Realm warping in to pad the KDAs of Phong Vũ Buffalo. Yesterday it looked a little shaky, but